Testing, testing, one, two, three. What's going on, you guys? Just want to vent, just a little bit. Want to rant, just a little bit. I'm actually about to be taking this admissions thing right now live, Zoom, with the CDL place, because you know I'm getting my CDL. So yeah, I got to do that. But it's been an interesting day so far. I got to go get my babies. I was going to go get them earlier this morning. Didn't exactly work out. So I'm going to go get them after the test or the admissions, whatever it is. But I needed a vent. What's up? What's up, D? How you doing? I'm looking at the chat too, you guys, just so you know. I need to vent, man. The past. A lot of people live in the past. And you can see it. Like it causes some things to happen when you dwell on the past, right? It causes, first off, it takes away your joy, especially if your past or the past that you're looking into is, causes anxiety or doesn't cause happy feelings when you think about the past, right? And it sometimes leaves people to be crazy, literally be outside themselves. Thank you for the congratulations. It causes people to trip out, man, to spaz, living in the past, thinking about the past constantly. And it's one thing to know, history or to know your past, right? And to identify things, because I think about the past. I don't live in it. I think about it because it helps me in the present to not do the same things that I've failed at before. What am I talking about? So this is going to be, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of insight into my life, just a little bit. My past. What is my past? My past is I grew up gangbanging. I was not raised the way that I raised my children. I was not a good person. Just be real. Looking at my past and looking at who I was a monster. I was a horrible person. As a kid, I've always liked to believe I had a big heart, but my past, the things that I've done, the gangbanging, the selling drugs, the women that I've hurt, the everything. It's like my past is ugly. It is, but I don't live in it. And some people that I have affected in the past, right, because of my actions or things that I said or whatever. Some of them can't see me as I am today. They only see the past version. They only remember the bad, right? And they dwell on it. When it comes to me, they dwell on that part of the past, or, they use they have this victim mentality that we talk about all the time, right? And you see a lot of people do it. A lot of people that identify with the past that they weren't even a part of, right? They use that to play a victim today in today's world. Now, I'm talking about this because of my personal life, right? There's people that are a part of my life today that, for whatever reason, still remain a part of my life by their choosing, and because also I want to have them a part of my life as well. It's like, we're a family, basically. And whenever something goes bad or whenever they get upset, the past always gets brought up, and I'm going to get a little personal, very personal, kind of, I guess. I was married before. Before I got with Champagne, before I got married to the wife that I have today. Me and Champagne met back in 2017 is when we first started talking, messing around or whatever. And at that time, I was married, and I was married since 2009, 2008. 2008. Yeah, it was 2008. I had got married when I was like 18, 19 years old. And I got married first. Let me just dive back in. The reason why I got married, and be totally transparent, the person that I got married to was my best friend. You know, we were best friends since we was 9 years old. And we were always just cool. We always hung out. And we ended up getting married, you know. We ended up being together and starting a family, having kids. And the marriage didn't go good. The only reason why we got married in the first place was because we were pressured. We were young. We were pressured to get married by the church because we were trying to get into church and start trying to follow God and do all of those things. And when I got married, I didn't know how to be a husband. I didn't know the first thing about being a husband. The only example that I seen of a husband was my stepfather that, you know, I call my dad to this day because, you know, he raised me since I was 2 weeks old. I only seen him be the example of a husband to my mother, who was the only example of a wife that I ever really seen, right? Every day. And not the only. The other example was my mama and my papa. My mama and papa were married, but that example of a husband and wife was equally as bad as what I was raised with, right? I didn't know how to be a husband. I didn't know the first thing about being a husband. I didn't know how to be a dad. I didn't even know how to be a man. You know, when I was 18, I got into the Heat and Frost Insulators Union. And I started working. I was making like $23 an hour and didn't know how to do anything except that I needed to go to work because I saw my dad that raised me. I saw him work every day. So work ethic was always in me. So it's like, okay, this is part of being a man. This is part of being a husband. You got to work. So I did. And the example that I had for a mother and, you know, not to shame my mom or my dad or whatever. What's up, Sharice? You say you basically got married because you was comfortable. No, I got married because I was forced, like pressured. You say, I know you realize this, Cash, but you don't need the church to worship Jesus and the Lord. Amen. I know that now. But here's the thing. The examples that I had of being a man and being a husband weren't correct. The only thing that I picked up was you got to work, and the man's got to go to work, and the woman's got to be a mother and take care of the home, a homemaker, right? That was what I wanted. I set that in my heart that when I got married, my wife isn't going to work. My wife is going to take care of the kids. My wife is going to take care of home. That was my mind. And I got to be able to work and make enough money to be able to make that reality. So I got in the Heat and Frost Insulators Union and I did that. But the problem is that I was raised wrong. Let's just be real. I was raised wrong. I didn't know anything about financial responsibility. I just knew that the bills needed to be paid and that was it, right? Didn't know how to budget, didn't know how to do any of the things that I know today. So, and I was also extremely violent because I was still a gangbanger, even when I got this job and even when I was married. When I got married, I wasn't trying to be a man. I was trying to be the ultimate Latin king. I was trying to be, you know, the dude in the streets that, you know, don't play with him, don't mess with him. And I needed money, you know, so I worked. So in the process of all of that, I started having these babies. I love my babies to death. And my wife at the time had an example of a father and a mother, and had a good example of what it was to be a wife and a husband, according to the mother and father that she had. And she had a very good upbringing. And I loved them. My father-in-law, my mother-in-law, I loved them because they represented to me the type of family structure that I wanted. Their dad, Mr. Robinson, I love that dude to this day. I love him to death. He worked his butt off, man. He worked his butt off and he took care of his family. And I seen how he was with his wife. And Mrs. Robinson, I loved her to death because I seen like what I wanted my wife to be like. You know what I'm saying? Because she took care of the family as well. You know, she provided a stable home. You know, she took care of the house. On top of she took a job. She also worked at Walmart. And when I started to be around them more after I got married to their daughter, I realized that our home doesn't run like how their home does, because even though we had the way that we were brought up in our house, we both grew up in the same hood. We both grew up in a neighborhood that was like different than the neighborhood that they grew up in, you know? So even though they were raised there, the neighborhood changed. It started getting gang violence, and it was drugs, and it was sex, and it was just all these things that we was raised around. And so we were both different than the upbringing that we had. Well, in the course of that, I was a cheater. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. When I got married, I said it in my head like I'm not gonna cheat no more. Before I got married, I was still messing around with my oldest son's mom, Cash Jr., his mother. And even though I was with my best friend, like me and her ended up getting together. And how that happened was I was still with the mother of my son, my first son, and then me being young and always having a crush on my then, best friend who became my wife. I had a crush on her and was just waiting for the day that me and her would actually, be together. So, and I had just got home, when I was 17, 18 years old. I just came home from being in prison, in kiddie prison. I was in DOC for 7 months because of a home invasion. I was a gangbanger. I was a drug dealer. I was all these things. So when I come home and I get into this union and I come home to this my first kid's mother, me and her didn't even know each other. We were kind of strangers, when I got her pregnant and I got locked up. I was 17 years old and she was like a stranger to me. But we ended up trying to be together when I came home, and it just didn't work because she was like a dude. Like, she wanted to fight. If she didn't like something, she would punch me in my mouth, and my mom taught me that if a woman hits you like a man, then you hit that woman back and let her know. If she hits you like a man, you give her that one. And after that, if she keeps going, then it's on. All bets are off, right? That's how I was raised. So after, she would hit me, now it's a rumble. Now I'm going to hit you back and let you know why you should have never hit me. But it didn't change nothing. She was raised in the streets. My first baby mama was a gangster. She was a gangster like how I was, straight up. She would fight. And I just didn't want that. So I left. Because my at the time best friend Stephanie called me one day and was like, "Hey, I think me and you should talk about us," right? Because when I came home, I looked different. I had my grown man body. I was different than the young boy that was her best friend that she grew up with, that she wasn't interested in. I came home and I was the man. Everybody in the streets knew my name. I was the man in my streets. One of them, me and a couple of other guys, we was them guys. So she was like, "Yo, I think maybe we should talk about us." And I'm like, "All right." So, I left my first son's mother because I'm like, I needed to get out of here anyway. It was just getting to a point I needed to get up out of there. So I left and got with her. Me and her hit it off. She gets pregnant. And now I got this issue going on with my first son's mother because she doesn't want to let me see my son because I left her for Stephanie, who she hated. And I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to be with you no more. I want to be with her. So I did. So that caused a whole bunch of issues, right? That part of the past caused the issues. It caused an issue between these two women. You cheated on me with this chick who you left me for. And I got your son over here. And I stood by you when you was locked up. And all of these things. So I created a conflict. It became a part of the past as years progress, right? So now I'm married. I get married to this woman because we're trying to do better. I want to leave the gang alone and I want to get into church. So when I get into church, they're saying, "Hey, you're living wrong. You're sleeping with this woman and you're not married. You need to get married. That's why you guys are having so many problems right now. That's why, because you're not married. You're not living right." I said, "All right, well, you want to get married?" She's like, "Yeah, let's get married." So we got married. Didn't help at all. Okay? Let me tell you guys, as a young guy, you don't get married to a person just because the church tells you to get married to that person. You don't even be with that person. You don't lay down and sleep with a person. And I wish I knew this back then. You don't lay down with a woman until you're sure that this is the woman that you want to be with. You get to know that individual. And I felt like, I know this person. We've been friends for a very long time. Since I was 9. She's my best friend. I want to get married and I want to do the family thing. And I did. I said it in my heart. Like, I wanted to marry this person and be with this person. But I didn't want to get married at that time. But I did because I wanted it to work. I wanted to please God and I wanted my life to get better and I wanted it to work. So I got married. And in the course of getting married, I didn't change any of my ways. Right? I got us a place. We were living in Sherwood Lake Apartments, but I'm still double dipping. You know what I'm saying? I'm still living in the streets, going out into the hood and hanging out in the hood and then going home after work. And, I'm still drinking. I'm still smoking. I'm still doing all these things. I'm still hustling while I've got a good job. I got a son and it didn't go. And I'm violent. I'm still extremely violent. So when she would get out of line. And I'd never thought in a million years that I would put my hands on this person, because I'm like, this was my best friend. I would never do that to her. I always protected her from people in the neighborhood. I would beat up anybody that tried to say anything bad to her. You know what I'm saying? And one day she put her hands on me, rightly so, because I was over there hanging out with, an ex, my son's mother, because she wouldn't let me see my son unless I hung out with her. So I did. And I gave in. So it's like, okay, I got to sleep with this chick to see my son, but I can't let this chick know because whatever. So I was wrong. But this is before we got married, and she put her hands on me. She clawed my back. She literally dug her nails in my back and just scratched down. And I told on her. I told her mom and dad, I'm like, look, she's putting her hands on me and da-da-da-da. And they told her, you can't be doing that. But in my mind now, it's like, okay, now you opened up a doorway. And it was wrong. My doorway was wrong, right? So we end up married, and we're trying to do better. But now I'm drinking more because I got money. Now I'm thinking I'm the man. I got my own stuff. And yeah, I'm not sleeping with this chick no more. I'm just going to deal with not seeing my son, I guess. And that's what I accepted. And I would let her keep him for however long she wanted to until she would let me see my son. So I let that go. I stopped cheating, right? I stopped cheating. I'm like, I'm married. I'm not going to cheat no more. So I'm still drinking and doing the wrong things. And I'm thinking, this is my wife. We got to do to each other and, whatever. I end up laid off. We end up having to move back to the neighborhood, move back to the hood, and we're living with her parents. And I'm in grind mode now. Now I'm like, okay, I got to be back around the gang. I got to be back around. I got to get some money so we could get a place. And I got all these things that I got to do. And I'm not going to cheat. That was my thing. I'm not going to be a cheater. I'm going to get myself together. And I did. Started to get myself together. And we get a place. And when we get our new place, months later, I got another son on the way. Before we get the place, actually, I got another son on the way. Things ain't going good because I'm not feeling like a man as a kid. I'm a young kid. I'm 19. I'm not feeling like a man right now. Okay. I'm not feeling like a man. We're living with your parents. I'm sleeping on the floor. You disrespect me, and you're supposed to respect me because I'm your husband, but it didn't realize my own flaw was, no, you're supposed to be providing for her safety, security because you're a husband. But it didn't register as a kid. So, and she got all this distrust in me because, I cheated, so what do? I start doing drugs again, trying to get my money together. And I cheated. I cheated again because I was unhappy, because I wasn't getting treated like a man. And I use that as an excuse. I use that as an excuse to say, okay, this is okay for me to cheat because she's not treating me the way that I'm supposed to be treated as her husband, which was wrong. Created another issue because now she's pregnant. She's pregnant with my son. She finds out that I cheated while she's pregnant. Now she's angry. She hates me. But she, we're together. So I apologize and do the whole, I'm sorry, I never do it again. All of that. I was wrong. And I get us a place. We move out. We get a place. Life is good. Now I'm done cheating. I said it from that point forward. Once my son Zay was born, I said, I'm not cheating no more. And I did not. I stayed faithful for the next 7 years. I got it together. I'm like, I'm not going to cheat. But the damage was done. The mistrust was there. The arguing constantly. We stayed at each other's throats about everything. I didn't trust her. She didn't trust me. She had, little things that she did throughout the time that I'm not going to put out. I'll talk about my wrongs. I won't talk about hers, just for the sake of, her privacy. But we had mistrust for each other, and the damage was done. I'm trying to move forward. She can't get over the past. And I understand why. I was wrong, right? And I was not friendly. I was not nice. So in that course of that 7 years, putting my hands on her because in my mind, I'm supposed to be respected now. I'm not cheating. I'm providing. I'm doing everything that I got to do as a man. I can't see my other son now because you can't get along with Priscilla because you're mad now that I cheated on Priscilla with you. She hates you because when I first got with you, I cheated on her to get with you. And it was just, I created a big mess. And it got rough. So I was angry when she would disrespect me or call me out my name or say something about, my son or, purposely get into it with old girl when I'm supposed to get my son. So I couldn't get my son. And it started to frustrate me. And I started to hate this person. Like I started to hate my wife at the time. I started to hate her and she started to hate me. And it was like just one thing back to back at each other's throats of disrespecting each other and me putting my hands on her because maybe she was trying to do something that she shouldn't, something that was hard to herself. And I had to correct it, or I thought you're not going to disrespect me in front of my kids, or you're not going to say these. It was just a lot. And I put the woman through hell. She put me through a type of hell as well. But where I where I was really bogus is I got physical. I was violent. And I caused more problems than good in the course of that. Because now, and this is to all you young men, take it from me, bro. Don't put your hands on a woman. Just, I don't care what she does. I know I was raised, my mom told me if a woman hits you, you hit her back. I'm telling you, don't. Don't. The moment that a woman puts her hands on you, call it off. Just quit, be gone, get out of there. Get out of there. No, you don't accept it. Don't do none of that. In the same sense, if you're a woman, if a man puts his hands on you in the beginning of it, from the moment that he does it, it's done. Leave. Be done with it. You know what I'm saying? Just get out of the situation. Because years go by and now we're hating each other. I'm laid off again. I don't want to do this job anymore. I'm sick of it. And I'm crying racism because of the stuff that people were saying at the job when it wasn't racism. It was just work site talk, trash talk to each other. And I lost control of my life, completely lost control of my life. And I hate my life and I can't stand my wife. And the only good thing that I got is my kids. And the one thing that I was focused on being was a good father. So no matter what is going on, make sure you're there for them babies and you spend time with them. And I did, right? I hung out with my kids. And in the process of that, girl, you better go on. You hear my baby over here beating on my door? So yeah, it got bad. It got bad. So here I am now. We're moving a little farther into the future. I'm 27, 28. The world is on my shoulders. I get indicted. I got indicted for a conspiracy to distribute narcotics because, I used to be a gangbanger, even though and I'm gonna be real with you. I had nothing to do with the conspiracy that I was a part of. I was out of the game. I left the gang alone when I was 22, about 22 years old, 21, 22 years old, something like that. I left it completely alone. I said, I'm not selling drugs no more. I'm not doing anything. I'm not hanging with these dudes. And what they got me for was stuff from when I was 12. They said from the age of 12 all the way up to 22. Okay. And now I got this case. Now I'm stressed out. I'm stressed all the way out. I'm freaked out because I'm like, I'm about to go to prison for some stuff that I didn't do. And I didn't know what to do. I hated just my life at the time. It was bad, right? Me and Steph weren't seeing eye to eye at all on anything. She hated me. I did not like her. And we're just like, we need to just not be together. But neither one of us would leave. It was like, and then when I would try to leave, it's like, I'm about to be out of this. She would beg me to come back. And we got to work it out. And it's a guilt thing because she did love me, and it was rough. It was rough, but it got to a point. It got to a point where I'm like, I don't want to do this no more. I don't. And I'm working 2 jobs or running 2 stores, 2 locations. And that's when I met Champagne. So when I met Champagne, I didn't tell Champagne that I was married. I didn't tell her none of that. I just started flirting and got her number and ended up going and hanging out with her. And I got bold. I said, you know what? I'm just going to tell her. So I told my ex-wife, my current now ex-wife, man, look, I'm cheating with this chick over here. I like her and I'm done with this. I don't want to do this no more. And she blew up. She got angry and, and I'm just like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care. And, then I had to let Champagne know, like, look, this is what's really going on. Yeah, I got a wife, but I'm going to file for divorce because I'm not happy and I don't want to do this. And caught her off guard, but now she's done got invested now because we've been talking for, like a month, 2 months or something like that. And I kind of like swept her off her feet, while working and trying to maintain being a good dad and keeping all of it from my kids and all this stuff. It didn't work at all. It didn't work because Stephanie let him know everything. Rightly so. I don't blame her for it. But Steph, she was like, look, we got to make this work. We got kids, Cash. Don't do this. We've been best friends for so long. Da, da, da. Call her and tell her that you're done and that you're going to work on your marriage and we could work on us. I said, all right. Okay. I said, my family deserves that, and I tried it and it didn't work. Didn't work. After like 2 months, I broke Champagne's heart. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I broke her heart, cut her completely off, and tried to make it work with my wife at the time. And it just got worse. The damage was done because all the things that she feared from the past were in the present. She was dealing with a situation, and all she could think about was all the things that I had did wrong, rightly so, because I did do a lot of wrong. And it just was too much. And then I couldn't get past a lot of the things, the stuff that I ain't going to talk about. I couldn't get past, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So I packed my things and I left. And I talked to I hit Champagne up, and she was still all crushed and broken and all the way just messed up. So I told her, I'm like, look, man, I'm sorry, right? I apologize. I put both of y'all in a messed up position, but I'm done. I'm not trying to do it. And I would like to try to see what's going on with us, with me and you. Champagne is pregnant. She's pregnant with my son, Messiah. So I created a whole situation. And I'm like, I'm done. We got to try to make this, if you're willing, let's make this thing work. And I did. And I left. And that was the end. That was the end of it. Me and Champagne ended up, I got back on my feet. I started working heavy, like a lot. And we got us a house. And Stephanie was doing her thing, and I took the kids because Stephanie said that, that she didn't get to have a life, that she never had the opportunity to go out and go to the clubs and go. She was always just being a mom and had to take care of kids. So she let me have my babies. So this whole time that when I left, my kids came with me. I had to take my kids with me. And I'm glad I did. That's why I tell you guys, one thing I never failed at, in my opinion, is being a father. Like, I've done some bad things, I could say, and didn't show them the right way. But I kept being a father. Like, I kept my kids with me, and I worked it. And Champagne took on all that as well. They came with it. And I let her know that from the gate. Like, look, I got babies. I got a lot of babies. And they got to be with me. She was like, all right. So me and Champagne, we started building our family. And she took on all my kids. Champagne was, at the time, 20 years old. You say, was Champagne pregnant when you cut her off, or what happened after you left the wife? Yeah, Champagne was pregnant when I cut her off, but I didn't know. I didn't know that Champagne was pregnant until after that. After I had cut her off, she let me know when I came back around that she was pregnant and that it was mine. She ain't messed with nobody. She's been broken up and just bad. And, I was like, whoa, so I found out right before me and her got back together, actually, because that was a thing that also was a problem within the marriage. She was like, you got this chick pregnant. And I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. And to answer your question, I left her while she was pregnant without knowing at first. But yeah, beyond all of that, we started building our family. She took on all my kids. And at the time, mind you, I had Caden, Isaiah, Araya, Kira. All right. She took on 4 babies that wasn't hers. And she did a very, very fantastic job. And the kids did not like her. When they first, the girls liked her. My boys, they knew a little more because they were older. They were about 7 7, 8 years old, I think, something like that, 8 or 9. And they knew. So they didn't like her. They did not like her. They were like, no, she ruined our family. And I just had to explain to them, like, no, no, son, I did that. That was me. I haven't had these conversations with the kids. I was like, I messed up. That was on dad. That's not her. But I understand how you feel. And I let them feel that. And Champagne let them feel that, but didn't stop trying hard to just be good to them. You know what I'm saying? Just treat them good. And she had to step up in a big way because they lived with us. You know what I'm saying? My babies, they lived with us because Steph was, she was living her life, doing her own thing, trying to figure her life out after it got bad. I had a part in it. She had to refigure everything out. And it was a long thing. That's a whole nother story that happened in between all of that time. But in the process of that, I was trying to heal the relationship also with Steph and tell her, like, look, it's better this way. It's better that we should have never even got together in the first place. We should be better off as friends. We've always been great friends. We sucked at being husband and wife to each other. You were a crappy wife. I was a crappy husband. We didn't do good together, And so in the course of all that, me and Champagne end up having our babies. And it was a time, y'all. And all this time, I'm fighting a case. Like, I'm fighting the whole federal case. And I'm working overnights. I'm doing everything that I can to make sure everybody's secure and everybody's good. And then everything just goes bad because I'm thinking that I'm about to have to go to sentencing, right? And here we are, what is it, 2019, about 2019, thinking that I'm going for sentencing. Champagne's not going to be able to keep up with the rent. We were paying like $1,200 rent or something like that at the time. And she didn't work. I was taking care of everything. So we had to give that place up because I'm thinking I might go to prison. So whatever money we have to keep for you to be all right with. And now, I had to give the kids to Stephanie years later. We give the kids back to Steph, and me and Champagne move in with my older sister. And I'm still married legally, to Stephanie. Didn't file for the divorce at the time. And we end up getting a continuance on the freaking case because COVID and stuff happened. COVID happened. So they continued the case. I didn't go for sentencing. All the courts was down or whatever. And Champagne is now feeling pressure because we're living with my sister. And I love my sister to death, but my sister is so hard to live with. So she made life hell. She made life hell for Champagne. Really just Champagne because I was always at work. So Champagne's at my sister's house and with the kids, with our kids. So we had Nanas, we had Messiah, and we had Kimmy on the way. Or I'm sorry, Cammy. Cammy on the way. She was pregnant with Cammy. And it was rough. So she ended up leaving. Champagne left, right? And I've never been left before. She didn't leave me because she didn't want to be with me. She left because she couldn't deal with living with my sister. My sister, we had a big old falling out and everything. So she ends up moving back with her mom. And if this is the point of life where the past, all the things in the past just kind of like smacked me all at once because I created all of this chaos behind me. And the one person that I met in life, which is Champagne, that, man, like the most phenomenal woman I've ever met in my life, bro. My wife is the most phenomenal woman I've ever met in my life. Always there. I could depend on her. We were there for each other in a bad time. We're lifting each other up. And to come home and she's not there. She had to go move in with her grandmother and her mother. And just so she could have some sanity away from my sister. And it crushed me when I came home because now I don't have any of my kids. I don't have any of them. We had to give the 4 back to Stephanie and she had to take that on. And then I had to deal with not being around Messiah, not being around Nanas, Cammy not born yet. And I felt betrayed. So I moved out my sister's house and I rented me a bedroom. I rented a bedroom for myself in Hammond. And I just stayed working. And I fell into working and I fell into going to the bar. I would go to the bar after work and I would drink, I would hang out with my boy, David Figueroa. Missed that brother to death. I love that dude, But I would hang out with him and just hate life and try to block everything out, you know? So now I'm mad because I'm begging Champagne just to come back with me. And she's like, nah, man, I'm not putting all of us in a room, you know, and doing this. Like I gotta think about these babies. So this is best if they be over here right now at my grandma's house until you get on your feet. So I took that as I don't want to be with you anymore. And it crushed me. So for that month, I'm like 2 months, I'm just wallowing in self-pity. I'm in bars, and this is all 2019. I'm drinking, and then I'm like, well, we're just not together no more. And she was like, no, like we're about to have your baby. We are together. I'm like, no, we're not. I'm done. I'm done with this. Right. So I met Erica. Erica had been like following my Facebook and all that for a long time. And I just hit her up. I was like, hey, you want to hang out? She's like, yeah, well, we can hang out. So I'm like, all right. She's like, ain't you in a relationship? I'm like, no, I'm not in a relationship. I'm single. I'm single and I don't got nobody. I'm alone, you know, and I'm just like this dark individual. So then I go and I talk with Erica. Me and her start, you know, hanging out or whatever. And yeah, that happened. And she gets pregnant by a drunk that just is, I'm worrying about working, making sure that my kids got what they need. And that's what I worked for. I didn't keep no money. It was just to make sure that the kids got what they need and that I was, you know, I had a roof over my head. So she gets pregnant by me, sees that I'm just all the way broken up and messed up. And she was the same. She was in her own little situation and we just, you know, she got pregnant. So now I'm like, oh my God. Now reality hits again. It's like, bro, you just did it again. You just did it again. And you're what, 30? I'm like 30 years old. I'm 29, 30 years old at the time. 30. I'm like 30. And I got another woman pregnant. So didn't learn. And I'm like, okay, I got to just figure this out now. Now I got to, you know, I can't leave and not be, you know, a father to this baby that's coming. And then I got all these questions in my head. I'm like, I don't really even know this person like that. And yeah, we did it. And then the kids had to come back with me. So all my kids, you know, I moved in with Erica. Me and Erica, you know, were like, she's like, oh, just come live with me. I'm like, all right, instead of living in that room. I'm like, all right. So I go over there. And then the kids end up having to come back with me because of situations that was going on. That another discussion for another time. So now I got all my babies again. So now I'm happy. At least I got my babies, right? Champagne, she's pregnant, so she needed a break. So she's like, can you take Nanas and Messiah? And I'm like, yep. And I took them all. So Champagne had her own things going on, living with her mom and all. It was chaos over there. Her cousin, it just ended up being bad. So now I got all the kids, me and Erica. Me and Erica don't really like, we're trying to make this whole thing work, but our lives were just so different. I'm very family oriented man when it comes to my babies. And Erica wasn't used to seeing a father, like a dude, be a good dad, right? Because the children that she has with the men that she hasn't by, they're, you know, at the time, one of them was incarcerated, who he's doing phenomenal now. Shout out to him, to Zoe. He's my friend. It's my brother. We're cool now, so it's pretty crazy. But he's doing really well now. But at the time, he was incarcerated. So the other kids, they didn't know their dad. And then the other guy, Stefan, he was just a Looney Tune. I ended up, yeah, just taking it all on. Same way she was trying to take on mine, I was taking on with hers, and that happened. So in the process of all of this, I'm angry. I got so much anger in me. I hear about the things that's going on with the dude that Stephanie is seeing. So I end up having to beat him up. I did some crazy stuff, man. I went over there and knocked in the door because he was doing wrong things in front of my children and being disrespectful to their mother. And even though, and this is where it hit, it's like, I did those things. I used to be horrible like that to Stephanie. So I can't let nobody else be like that towards Stephanie. So even though she hated me and had these things, it's like I'm still in my mind, I got to protect, right? So one day I go over there. Uh, my son, all of them, my kids were like scared of the dude because of the things that he would do and say. So I go over there and have my son open the door, and I beat this dude. I beat him. I beat the brakes off him, knocked him unconscious. And then when he was laid out on the floor, I looked at my kids and told my kids, don't you ever be scared of this dude again. Y'all don't got nothing to be fearful of him. I looked at Stephanie. You won't be scared of this dude. He's a nobody. And this is what'll happen to anybody that tries to hurt you guys. So yeah. And I got a whole Fed case at the time. So did that. Then I had to beat up Stefan, so I put hands on him. I had to knock him out. And the kids seen that, so it just, like I was spiraling. In my mind, I'm protecting, I'm showing them something. But now you spiraling because, bro, you could go to prison for all of these things, and the kids, they seeing you just be physical. Like they seeing you dogging people. Like I'm putting hands on anybody that I got a problem with because I'm just angry. Got this baby on the way, whom I love to death. Like I'm so glad that I got my Nova. I love my baby. That's my little baby girl right there, Hold on, close the door. Speaking of Nova outside, about to come in my office. So yeah, that happened. And then it comes time, for the viral stuff that goes on. I end up losing the job that I had. Okay. I was working before I got viral. I'm working, holding these stores, running both of these stores. I got a baby mama that hates me, and Stephanie, ex-wife. Well, she was still currently my wife. She hates me. Champagne is totally pissed off at me, admires me for being a great father and taking on my babies, but she is super pissed off that I got this woman pregnant who I should have, that I should have never even been with in her mind. She's like, dude, you were supposed to be getting on your stuff and getting together so you can get us a place so we can all be together as a family. But instead, I took that as, you just don't want to be with me right now. And you left me in my hard time and you know what I'm going through. So whatever, I'm done. And then I got Erica pregnant, and Erica knows that really, like I love Champagne. Erica knew that at the time. She's like, yep, this dude is, but she went with it because she had such faith. Like this dude he's a good dad. He's a provider. He's all of these things. He's a protector. And I just got this whole mess going on all the time, all the while having all my kids. So I lose the job because the job that I'm working at became new ownership. So I ran 2 store locations. The one store gets taken over by this Arab guy, and I'm the store manager. He comes in and he wants to change everything, which is cool. That's your prerogative. You want to change everything. But he ends up talking crazy. One day he comes in and he called me the N-word. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be real with you. He called me the N-word, and I'm at my level of anger is just through the roof in life. I don't have any patience for anybody anymore. And I grab him and I start choking him. I start choking this dude, like just choking him out. I was ready to hurt him bad, right? So I get fired. I'm like, you should have never called me the word. And at this point, I just don't care. Screw the job. And in my mind, I'm like, maybe I'll just start hustling. That thought crossed my mind. Like, maybe I'll just start hustling. Who cares? I might be going to prison anyway. I'm just sick of it. I got kids I got to provide. And then when I lost the job, I'm sitting over there with all my kids, looking at all my kids, looking at Erica is pregnant with my kid. Champagne is pregnant with my baby. And life is just like I'm falling into a pit. So then it's like, okay, I had to put my pride to the side and ask for some help. So I did. I created like this GoFundMe. And because the van that I had broke down and I needed a car to be able to get back and work. So the GoFundMe was for like, I don't know, $1,200 or something like that. So I can get the van fixed. And then all the stuff starts going on with riots and BLM and all this. And it's just, I'm just mad at the world. I'm angry at my life. I'm angry at the world. And I hate how this is my thinking at the time. Yeah, I got a lot of babies, but I'm a good dad. I take care of them. Promiscuous, I guess, for sure. I was promiscuous. But I tried hard to treat people good. So even in all my downtime, it's just like, I'm trying to help people, they're coming in the store, they needed a hand, their phone broke or whatever. They didn't have a phone for work and they needed it back on or whatever it was. And I would activate people's phones. I would just activate them and say, look, just come back and pay me. You know what I'm saying? When you get on your feet, just bring me the money back. And I learned that from Jacob, who taught me how to be that way, right? So I'm trying. I'm trying my best to balance, right? To be a good man, but also I'm angry and I'm dealing with this anger and I want to tear everybody up around me. Any dude that looks at me sideways, I want to put my hands on them. I'm just angry, but I got to have restraint because if I don't, then I'm going to prison. And then I'm thinking like, I need money. Am I going to sell these drugs? But if you sell these drugs, well, then now you're going to be the piece of crap that you talk about because at the time, all this time that's going by, I'm still an activist. You know, I'm an activist. I'm trying to keep kids away from the gangs, keeping kids away from the streets, telling them not to sell drugs. But the thoughts hitting my mind like, bro, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to do something. And then I see a video on Facebook of my guys standing toe to toe with the police in Hammond, Indiana. And these are good cops and they're getting spit on. And now I'm pissed off at my community. So now I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to vent. And I didn't care. I just didn't care. I went and vented. And it went viral. It went viral. And it changed everything. It was about martial law and calling these dudes stupid and standing up, BLM and all these things. So when that happens, I wake up to all these views and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. But I looked at the GoFundMe that I had and people done donated $23,000. I guess they seen the video and they went to my page and they seen the GoFundMe and people started donating like crazy. It went over the cap, over the limit that I was asking for. So all of my situation changed because I'm gonna be able to fix the car now and be able to pay these bills up because I don't know, what's gonna happen. But then people were messaging me, asking me questions. So they're asking me questions about my life. And in my mind, I'm not conservative Cash. I'm just a dude that was just struggling hardcore, trying his best to be a dad. I got all these kids on me because the moms can't handle them. And all the kids is on me and it's just, everything is crazy, right? I got a failed marriage. I got a failed relationship with a woman that I loved with all my heart. I got another woman that I just met not too long ago in person that's now pregnant with me or pregnant with my baby. And all of us are living in this house and all these things. So I got all these questions coming to me and I'm like, okay, what do you want to know? So they start asking me and I start being brutally honest. And I just start telling people, it's like, look, bro, I don't care about politics at all. I don't care. I just know that it's stupid what BLM is out here doing and the people in my community. And I'm just ripping them. And they're asking me, well, are you a conservative? I said, I don't even know what that is. I was a conservative. And they're like, oh, man, how do you feel about Trump? I'm like, oh, man, I think Trump was dope back in the day, but now he seems like a racist because of the news. And it just all that, that story. You know that part of the story. So now I start digging deep, looking in, making more videos, and each video is going viral. So my life changed. Now my job had became being a social media influencer. They say create a YouTube. I created a YouTube channel. It starts blowing up. And in the process of that, I'm making thousands of dollars on my YouTube channel. I've got a Patreon. They said start a Patreon. I start, getting interviews. People wanted, that's how I met Russo. He wanted to interview me. There's other people about fathers. I forget the name of the channel, but it's about dads. And they wanted to interview me because they're like, bro, this is a hood dude. He's got an open case. He's got all of his kids living with him, but he seems like a straight thug, but he's not. And he's just, so now everything's changed. So now all this notoriety starts coming my way. The women from the past, my ex-wife, she sees this, instantly angry. Why does he deserve to get this notoriety? Why is his life going so much better? And in all this process of this, the first thing that it made me think about was God. And it's just like, yo, you heard me again, like you seen me again, and I'm spiraling. It's like, okay, here, I'm gonna look out for you. And I start being thankful to God even more and start getting myself back right and trying to lean into God just a little bit more and fix things. And everything started to go good. Everything started to go good. And I didn't know like how to do. They're like, hey, can we fly you out here? Can you come speak on stage? Now they want me to speak. Me. And I told, and I was open about it with everybody, about who I was, coming up. I was a gangbanger. I was a drug dealer. I was this. I was violent. I've got things in my past that I did are horrible. And they're like, that's all part of your testimony. So now all these people were telling me about my testimony. I said, bro, this is a part of your testimony. You have a voice. God, look at how God is using you. Look at this. And I'm just like, yo, that's crazy. You're right. And then all of y'all, a lot of you guys hit me up and I started having conversations with you. And now I'm so into social media. Now I'm talking to people who are talking about ending their life and how my videos saved them. And then it just, it went nuts. And then in the backside of that, the people that knew me are angry because they are still in the past. Forget the present moment of what's going on with Cash. They're in the, I know the past Cash. I know the Cash that just 7 years ago was putting his hands on me. I know the past Cash that sold drugs. I know the past Cash that was violent. He shot at my cousin. I know the past Cash that, you know, was a monster. Why does Cash deserve any of what he has? Why does Cash, how is it that Cash got this platform? How is it that Cash, and it just became hate? For me, I'm like, I need to change and start doing better. I see what you did, God. I need to start trying to be better. So I start trying. I start reading my Bible more. I start leaning into God more at this time. And then I start leaning into politics. I'm not worried about anything that's going on. I had my child support that I was on for my oldest son. I paid that up and gave extra because it's like, you got to do the right thing. The extra money that came in from that GoFundMe, I took it and gave it into the community. I helped out people that needed help. I sent that one lady the $500 that was sleeping in her car with their kids. And I'm not saying none of this to brag on myself. I'm saying this for the glory of God, right? I started doing things that normally I wouldn't do. I started because I'm like, I got blessed, right? And I know that this blessing is from God. So I can't throw this blessing away, even though God knew that I was a cheater. God knew that I was violent. God knew that I just beat these dudes down. God knew that I was living foul for a portion of my life. God knew all of that, but here he is. He's still blessing me. So then, God, what you want me to do? Well, now you got to be a blessing too. But yeah, God, but they saying all this about me. They calling me this and that. Yeah, that's what you were, but that's not who you are now. Be who you are right now. So I started trying to be that. I just started trying to be better. I can't change any of my past, but people still hold on to that past version of me. There's people that, man, we're going to continue this, you guys. I'll be back. I got to get off for a minute. I'll be back.